Okay, so almost every organization, they collect vast amounts of data, whether it be financial data or statistics, whatever it is. Usually data is consolidated into a summary so that the people in the organization can better understand the meaning of the data. And we do that using Excel spreadsheets. So we can chart it, we can summarize it, whatever. So in this project, we're going to follow proper design guidelines and use Excel to create a worksheet and a chart. This worksheet is going to contain budget data for Linda Fox. However, we're going to replace Linda Fox with your name. There's going to be a list of expenses and sources of income, and we're going to have to use this information to create an easy-to-read worksheet to see how much you will be ahead or behind each month. Then you'll use a 3D pie chart to show the estimated expenses for categories in the next 12 months. Okay, so the first step in creating an effective worksheet is to make sure you understand what is required. So usually, if someone asks you to create something for them, like a spreadsheet, they'll give you some sort of document with requirements on it. Like for example, if I ever have someone ask me to write them a letter of recommendation, I might ask them, okay, what do you give me like a document of stuff like what you've done, what awards you won, kind of like a resume kind of thing. Or if I were to create a website for somebody, I might say, hey, okay, what information do you need on it? And I'll create the design for you. Same kind of thing with Excel. So they need like a need statement, a source of data, summary of calculations, that kind of thing. Okay. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So, like I said, this is a little different than Word. So to enter data into Excel, we don't put an insertion point in. We select the cell. So we start from A all the way to A whatever. There's lots of columns. There's a ton of rows. And the intersection between a column and a row is a cell. And when we select a cell, it's got this little black border around it. Okay? So now when I start typing, I can just once I select it, I can just go ahead and start typing. Or you can double click and wait for an insertion point. You can also go up here and type. Okay? This is the function bar here. Or the formula bar, my bad. Where you would put in formulas. You can also type up here and it will be in the cell. Whatever you feel like you need to do. So to select it is to make sure that you have this black box around it and you just select it. Okay. You can also use the arrow keys that are, if you look at the bottom right next to the number pad, you got arrow keys. You can navigate between different cells using the arrow keys. So in Excel, any set of characters like letters, hyphens, spaces, that's considered text. Anything else is numbers. Because numbers are calculated. You can't calculate text. You want to make sure worksheet titles and subtitles are as brief and meaningful as possible. Because remember, this is not something you write a report on. It's going to be very little text, a lot more numbers. So, okay. So now we're going to start the worksheet titles. So we're going to go ahead and start saving here. So we are going to go to File, Save As, Browse. You're going to go to your R2D2, and I am going to go to my desktop. All right, this is what I do. Answer keys. Okay. So you're going to create a new folder called Excel. Open up the folder, new folder, module 1. We're going to start using folders to make everything a little bit more organized. Okay, and we're going to call this Excel spreadsheet, we're going to call it budget with your name at the front. Save. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start typing in text. So we're going to click on A1, to make it the active cell. It's the active cell when you have the box around it. We're going to type personal budget worksheet. Now, what you'll notice is the text has moved into different cells. All of this is still in A1. Okay? There's nothing in B1. Even though it has this here in the formula bar, it's not there. If I were to put anything in B1, this would go away. Like, for example, if I put in hashtag swag, you'll notice that you can't see anything. Okay? So when the text is longer than the width of a cell, they'll display the overflow characters in the adjacent cells to the right as long as there's no data. But we're going to want to edit that cell to make sure it's all in there. But we're going to go to cell A2, monthly estimates. Same kind of thing. It ran a little over, so it goes over the next cell. But there's actually nothing in that cell. Okay. We're going to go to A3. Type in income. Okay. Go click the right arrow. And then we are going to enter in the following column titles. So we did one for income. We're going to do one for January. Click your right arrow, or you can also click tab. February, tab, March, tab, April, tab, May, tab, June, tab, July, tab, August, tab, September, tab, October. And this is an example of what happened. See, it didn't go over because there's text in this next one, so now it's called September. Okay, so we'll have to fix that up. November, December, total. And same kind of thing here. So now it's November and December. Okay, so we'll have to change the column width there. Okay, so these are the column headings here, where we'll end up putting in data down here in a little bit. We're going to go to A8 here, and we're going to do the same thing. Expenses, January. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick, because I don't like doing work when I can do it quicker. When you select a cell, you've got this black border around it. Now, you can select multiple cells if you hold down your left mouse button when you've got this little cross here and select here. You can select multiple cells. What this little box down here is, that's called a fill handle. And basically what that does is it will copy a format across different empty cells. Now, what we can do is if you go down here, you get a different plus. That's where the fill handle is. Hold down the left mouse button and drag all the way down to M3. And it will go ahead and fill the rest of the months. That's because Excel's smart and knows all 12 months. Okay, and let's go ahead and do total. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. So we created our column titles. Now we're going to do row titles. So A4, we're going to add, these are different income types. So income is money that's coming in. Expenses is money coming out. So an example of income would be something called wages. Okay, your wages is how much you make. So like for example, I'm a teacher. I bring home around $1,200 over 2 weeks, which is not a lot. Then we got dividends. Okay, so an example of this is if you ever invest money in stocks, that company will give you a dividend check every quarter usually. of how much of a return they make, because when you buy stocks in a company, you have partial ownership in that company, so they give you some sort of return. Some people do this as an alternative source of income. My family has stocks in Verizon, so my family gets very small dividend checks based off of their profit margin. It's pretty cool. Very risky business to do, but investments are very interesting. And then we got total. So those are our row titles. So our column titles will, when we put data here, this will be all for the month of January. Okay, wages, this will say all the wages that have been all year, or the wages of February, or the wages of May. These are row titles. These are column titles. Okay, now we're going to add some more row titles for expenses. So we're going to go rent, food, tuition, books, entertainment, car payment, gas, miscellaneous. I always spell that thing wrong. And total. And then we're gonna press enter twice. Type in net. Okay. All right. So expenses, again, this is money going out. So rent, obviously, if you're living somewhere on your own or with a roommate, you have to pay money to live there. For example, I live in an apartment. I have to pay a specific amount of rent every month in order to stay here. Otherwise, they come out and they throw me out of my apartment and then throw all of my belongings on the lawn, and that's not such a fun time. Food, because everyone needs to eat. Yes, I know. I mean, it's basically money going in and money coming out. But you have to have food to sustain you. Tuition, this is for college usually, in order to go there, and of course you need to get books. If you're at college, you have to be entertained. You can't just study all the time. Hard to believe, I know. Car payment, you have to drive. Gas, you have to have something put in the car. And miscellaneous is a word that basically means anything that can't fit into a category goes into this category. And then the total expenses. Okay, so in the next video, now that we've entered our titles, we're going to enter in some numbers.